try to flick the lighter again, getting more and more desperate now. I can feel either eyes on me as I fail again to light the fuse, my hand starting to shake. Picturing the scowl on Red's face, I flicked it harder and lick! I quickly hold it against the fuse as it snakes up the length faster than I was expecting. Remember my fear of the explosion, I scrambled to my feet and ran towards them. Clambering noisily to the bushes, I could see Blue perched on a rock and Red leaning against a tree. I don't have time to apologize as I hear a crackling start behind me. Plumes of smoke erupt out of the rock, and the noises get louder and louder and louder until a few sparks sparkle on the ground, but the rocket doesn't even fire. It's a dud? I start to feel their eyes on me again. Red sighs dramatically. Man, seriously? I slowly turn around and face him, my chest constricting as I realize how much I've been fucked up. You swore up and down to me that this would be the best way to start the night. You made us watch this instead of going over to Liam's? He breathes in heavily through his mask, the dark eye holes making it impossible to read his expression. I could tell he's becoming furious. He starts to fiddle with his bat. Listen, man, I'm sorry. Sean told me how good these were gonna be, and I really believed him. I wanted to impress him. That's still the rest of the Halloween. His posture changed as I start to grovel, relaxing the white knuckle grip on his bat. I know it still won't be good enough. I looked over at Blue for support, and he just stares back oddly still. I'll do whatever you want for the rest of the night to make it up, you know? I promise I won't pussy out like the other Ed. Red sparks out a sharp laugh at that, back to lazy and against the tree trunk. Blue huffs and starts to root around in his bag, gripping something. I'm gonna make you regret that promise, runt. Sides, you already owe me. If the night is gonna improve after that, let's go. Any ideas of what this subject him to, Blue? My chest starts to tighten again, knowing exactly what Blue considers a fun use of his free time. I used to catch him pulling the limbs off bugs when we were younger, not knowing he graduated to something stronger, until I found the mice in his room. I have been meaning to. Wait. I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna make the runt get back at Sean for his shitty fireworks. I'll rock through his window, maybe. I start to breathe again, realizing I'm not gonna be subject to whatever Blue is thinking of. My stomach sinks the second I realize what I'll be doing instead. Wait, I don't know if he deserves. You said anything. You make it better, right? This is anything. Sean has deserted for ages before this. Remember we stole Liam's bike and wouldn't admit it? A rock is getting off lightly. Red starts to saunter in the direction of Sean's house, and I scramble up behind him. Feeling a prickle in my neck, I turn around and spot Blue stood still behind us. He's staring at the moon heavily in the sky. I look a little closer, but then he seems to snap out of it, turn towards me. I scratch the skin under my thick mask, trying to focus on him. A funny feeling starts to form in the back of my mind, like we're somehow making eye contact underneath our masks. Even though I can't make out his face. Hurry up! Jesus, you too scared of the dark or something? Blue looks back at the road, straightening up and beginning to amble towards us. I realize how long I've been frozen watching him and scurry back in Red's direction. Red snickers at his own joke loudly, and I try to relax again. It feels like we're walking for ages, but the time we arrived on Sean's street, probably more like 10 minutes. The dread in the pit of my stomach has only strengthened over the walk. Every trick-or-treater we walk by makes me feel worse. A family passes me and I suddenly realize how public this is going to be, on a day where everyone is outside. The dread solidifies further. In contrast, Red's whistles cheerily next to me. The shaggy wolf's head he's wearing is muffled into an anonymous tune. Blue stalks behind us, breathing heavily. It sounds somehow like he's finishing running a marathon. Red jauntily raises his bat up to the house like some kind of circus ringleader. Haha, well, we're here. Looks empty, so try not to shit yourself. He turns around suddenly, surveying the nearby houses, spotting something he likes. He wanders over to it, crumbling bricks wall against the street. He kicks harshly at it, old bricks showering across the path. Reaching down, he dislodges a large chunk. Haha, here you go, Runt. With that big target, you shouldn't be able to miss. Yeah, alright, well, yeah. Can one of you guys watch out for, like, trick-or-treaters or something? You sure there's no one here? Are you scared of kids, man? Jeez, just throw the fucking thing. Get his bedroom window, if you can manage it. I want him to know. I don't know about this. Why don't we just... You said you would do anything, and you will, or tonight's gonna get much worse. Yeah, but if you have to ruin it, I'll have to make you regret it. He's stalking towards me, waving his bat madly. I feel like I'm speaking to an alien. He's a dick, sure, but like he's more like a man possessed. I step back, feeling myself starting to hyperventilate. A large shape appears next to his bat, gripping it firmly enough that its waving stops instantly. I realize it's Blue, as Red lets out a snarl in surprise. Get the fuck off me, man! He tries to whirl off him, but an inhuman roar rips through the night's atmosphere. Red nearly drops the brick clutched in his other hand. I realized that it had come from Blue. Hey! Whoa, alright. Just throw the goddamn thing, okay? It's like he's been sedated. Blue realizes the bat and releases the bat, and Red's arm flops lazily down to his side. Blue looks at me and nods. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'll throw. There's a rush of bile in my throat as I look away, incapable of processing whatever I had just seen. Unthinking, I raise the brake, breathing in and through. The glass shatters, pouring into the bedroom. Abruptly, I realize I can breathe again. Take a deep gulp of the night's air. Red jumps up, hooting enthusiastically at the destruction. Click. Ah, shit! Let's go! I take off, sprinting down the road, footsteps pounding behind me. My lungs started to burn, but I kept pushing until the world around me started to get blurry. I could feel my heart beating on my chest, deafening me. Finally, I stumbled against a house and stopped to rest. God! What's so funny, man? Jesus! I can't believe he was there. God, that makes up for the fireworks. But what if... we're wearing masks. Relax. Red's attempting comfort does not make me feel better. I feel like the world is closing in on me. Can you imagine the look on his face? Probably woke him up from a fucking nap. Jesus. That or he's winking in the dark. That sets him off into further peals of laughter, clutching his chest. Slowly the world around me starts to right itself again. That's a new best for you. Blue is looking down at me, his whole body curled up against the wall, but somehow still towering over. Hey, yeah, that definitely beats stealing a pint from the pub. Red punches me in the shoulder and I start to laugh with him, immediately pretty amused by the idea of Sean's reaction. God! My turn to be compensated for the fireworks. I peer up at Blue, suddenly remembering what had just happened between him and Red and what I had promised. My heart drops. Why not? Let's see if we can really make him braver, right? It feels like Red doesn't even remember what had only just transpired between them, back to working together to torment me. Maybe we can do something more Halloween-y now, right? I have something in mind. I take a deep breath, suddenly regretting it as I notice a putrid smell wafting on the breeze. I recoil slightly, then I try to conceal my reaction as I realize the scent is coming from Blue. He's not the kind of person who normally smells, good, but this is a lot even for him. He reaches into his bag, pulls out a small shoebox, discolored and torn. The smell gets considerably worse as he holds it out towards me. It smells sweet, in the most sickening possible sense. I resist the urge to gag as I picture whatever could be inside. Red reaches over, trying to grab the box from his hands, but Blue quickly moves it from his reach. Dude, what the fuck is in there? It smells worse than my cousins left a plate of rotten eggs in my room. You can't open it. It's not for you. Man, tell me there's not anything fucked up in there. Red shifts onto his back foot before turning away slightly. Actually, I think you'll appreciate this when you know the recipient. Red inclines his head back in Blue's direction, encouraging him to keep speaking. I made it for Jack. Red stops shifting around and suddenly goes completely still. I can't believe this is being brought up. Whatever happened with Jack happened long before I was involved, but I got in the sense it was pretty serious. He used to be a good friend of Red's and was dating Red's sister, but from what I know, the relationship got pretty fucked up. I've also gotten the sense that he's a terrifying guy. God, seriously? That's, We're having revenge tonight, and he does deserve it. You know it, I know it. All we have to do is get green to leave this for him. I remember my place in all this and snap back into reality. I really don't want to have to be involved in one of these blue schemes. The way he's acting makes me feel like I'm going to be starring in some crime documentary here from now. Red clearly notices he's lost control of the night, and I can see he's trying to rally himself in my peripheral vision. Well, I won't say no to that. He does deserve it. It'll make this one less useless for sure. He slaps him on the shoulder, but his enthusiasm rings completely hollow. It's not hard to see his heart isn't in it. Still, it's much harder to get out of this now he's improved. Listen, I get what you're doing, but I don't think I can do this without knowing what's in the box. I look over at Red for support, but he doesn't seem to be paying me any attention, scuffing his boot against the pavement. Not until you put it there. Come on, why not? No, you can see it if you do it. I hold his gaze for a very tense couple of seconds. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what's probably in that box. His experiments flash in my mind. I can feel myself becoming even more aware of the smell. Inclining my head up at him, I swear I can see the snout on his mask curling up into a snarl. Jumping, I push myself backwards against the wall and look again, but his mask is completely the same as it was before. Slowly, he pushes the cardboard box into my hands. No reaction at all to me nearly jumping out of my skin. He swivels on his foot and starts striding off down the street. Red reproachfully following him. He's hunched over more, boots dragging loudly as he walks. You can get the impression he just woken up if it wasn't for his bat. Even in the darkness, I can see him gripping it tightly, the veins on his arms prominent from the force. Eventually, I start to trail behind, actively trying not to look at the box in my hands. It dawns on me that Blue prepared whatever I'm holding long before our plans got derailed, which means he was going to do something fucked up to this guy anyway. Revenge is clearly not a motive for him. Thinking about that just makes me feel sicker, so I try to focus on the Halloween decorations. Jack's house turned out to be pretty close, Blue having led us there. Luckily, it's getting pretty late now. There seems to be less families about. I trudge along with the group before Red suddenly swings his bat at his side, blocking me from walking. What? Don't get any closer. His lights are on. His earlier cheery demeanor is completely gone as he scans the house. There's an alley around the back that leads straight to his garden. Just turn right and hop over the second fence. That's his. I really do not like how quickly this is escalating. I should have dealt with this guy a long time ago. Red's mood shift is also not helping, as I imagine if he lingers here much longer, he might actually get to use his bat. I realize I need to just get this over with, but I just can't. Guys, this is just crazy, yeah? Stop being a little fucking weasel, alright? Aren't you supposed to be a coyote tonight? I had forgotten how quickly he had been to fly off the handles earlier, but watching him turn on me so fast, I realized how much more unstable he seems. I can't even bear to look at Blue, knowing he orchestrated this beforehand. Alright. First, turn on the right? Yeah? Blue just nods affirmatively. I don't want to know why he knows this. Stumbling to the alley, I realize the stench of the box is only getting worse. I gag a little, but try to quiet myself as I get closer. Shuddering, I realize I could just leave it in the alley or just find some bin for it. There's no reason to get arrested before doing Blue's weird what he's never even know otherwise. As I look into the alley, my eyes are drawn upward to the sky. A horrible shiver goes up my spine as I look at the moon, surprisingly large among the stars. The feeling that something is deeply wrong fills my chest, but the moonlight is relaxing. My legs start to move of their own accord, and I realize I'm going to fulfill Blue's task anyway. The fence stretches up before me, and I reach up to the grass to the top, hurling myself ungracefully up and over. I land with more of a thud than I would have liked in his garden, urgently trying to assess my surroundings. It's a pretty disgusting garden. Patches of grass, wilted, and piles of rotten wood and furniture lying in the corners. Near to the door lies a large wire cage among various clothes that have clearly fallen off the washing lines and have been left in the dirt. Hearing movement on the other side of the fence, I remember the situation I'm in. I scramble up the back door and quickly lay the box down, pausing as I grip the lid. A rabbit? It's clearly been skinned, left to sit in this box for who knows how long. Congealed blood coated the inside. A weave of nausea hits me faster than I can possess it, and I pry off my mask before vomiting into the grass. I feel dizzy as I look up again, trying to contain my retching. Fuck! I try not to think about the implications of what I'm looking at, and turn away from it, back towards the fences. I grasp it again, hop, and nearly fall flat on the ground on the other side. Breathing deeply, I wipe my eyes under the mask and try to pick myself back up. I lean heavily against the wall for a second, my legs not willing to cooperate. I'm not in the garden anymore, but I'm still too close by, so I hasten to my feet and drag myself into the street. I avert my gaze as I approach them. I can't bear it. Right? Let's go. I hear Red moving away from us, and I try to shadow him, bringing my breath back to a normal level. A hand grips my shoulder, and I hear mocking laughters from over it. Hey, he'll get a reaction. He's too close to me, and I can't even stomach a nod to the firmament. I swallow. You gotta tell me what was in that box. Seriously. I tilt my head lopsidedly at him, trying to focus on the words. It was my plan. I'll tell you. I did say you'd be impressed. Red stands at attention, clearly hating the suspicion. I remembered you mentioned he had a rabbit. He thinks it went missing 6 days ago. He'll know where it went now. The world feels like it goes out from under me as I watch Red's reaction. His shoulders tense up even further. Then they drop. Then they tense again. He looks away wildly, and then looks back. His rabbit? His back starts to move at his side, twitching as he shakes. That goddamn rabbit! My sister loved that thing, you sick fuck! What the hell is wrong with you? He snarls, and I swear I see a flash of yellow in the eye holes of his mask. A wolf staring back at me. All at once, he leaped at Blue, bat rised over his head. I throw myself out of the way as Blue grasps me mid-air with bodies colliding as they both tumble to the floor. Hey, stop! I feel like I'm watching something more animal than human. Bodies in matted fur whirling in constant motion. Red quickly lifts his bat and swings. Blue's head snaps to the side with the force. He goes limp for a second before surging back to life, kicking at him. Red raises his arms to strike at him again, but Blue roars and throws himself upward, rolling over and uses his sheer size to pin Red beneath him. I should step in, but I can't breathe. He grips Red's mask, slamming his head down into the pavement with incredible brutality. And again. And again. Holy shit! I am helping you, you idiot! Have you done anything to him this whole time? Get your own revenge. The light goes out in Red's eyes. deformal primal energies seeming to dissolve instantly. They look almost comical on the ground, the two men in Halloween masks wrestling each other in the grass. I can't believe how different it seems just a second before. Blue gets off him, wiping the grass stains on his trousers like he's been mildly inconvenienced. I can't move. She loved that thing! Red lays there limply for a second before climbing roughly to his feet and steadying himself. I'm gonna go get a drink. I need a beer. Just stay here. He turns to me, holding my gaze for what feels like an eternity. He starts to limp away from us, but speeds up the further he gets until he's running full speed around the corner. I realize how he's left me alone with him. I turn away from Blue, trying to process everything that just happened. The moon is unnaturally large in the sky, hanging ominously over us. I stare at it, trying to imagine it as some kind of cosmic paradise I could escape to. As I gaze at it, my vision starts to fuzz at the corners. I feel as I can see Red's bat, rising upwards as he's getting ready to strike. I see Blue and his experiments, mice rotting in their cage. I feel an overwhelming presence building in my chest, a rage filling up in me and threatening to spill over. Every time Red has screamed at me, every time I've been Blue perform some sick stunt, everything I've seen tonight. Staring at the milky surface of the moon, I see all the violence I can inflict back on them, all the pain. Blue crunches through the grass to me, snapping me out of my thoughts. The second I look away from the moon, the cacophony inside my head grows quiet, but an incredible yearning to look back blossoms in its place. Blue is looking at me at the same view. Blue? I'm not really thinking as I speak, a strange confidence coming over me. What? Let him be the crybaby for the night. I cough and stare back at the grass, the breeze starting to chill me through my costume. You can't fucking attack each other. It isn't right. I have no idea how I'm doing this. He flicks his gaze over to me, annoyance starting to show in his face. Stance. You'll notice he was the one to attack me. Am I supposed to not defend myself? There's an incredible threat in his tone now. You knew what you were doing. I've known you long enough to be sure that you knew exactly what you were doing with Red and that poor fucking rabbit. His head really flicks to me this time, and before I know it, he's slamming me back against a fence. I choke out his pen against me, and one hand on my neck and the other gripping my left arm. You are a coward! Grow up! He squeezes hard, a pinwheel of my legs around in my attempt to kick at him, but he's too strong. I did it because he deserves it. You think I care about what our personal bond? I scratch at his hold with my other hand, cringing away from his rancid breath. I wanted a reaction out of him, and I got it. You get so upset over what happens to a bunch of animals, but you don't realize. He slams me back into the fence again. You're both mice in the cage. You're just the more pathetic one. One of my kicks finally connects a little harder. His knee buckles under him. I try to dive away, but he's still latched onto my arm and he pulls himself down on top of me, snarling. I cringe from the punch, my head snapping against the concrete. Look at me! Look at me! He grabs the snout of my mask and pulls it around, facing directly up towards him. My head throbs from his attacks, but as my eyes focus in, I see that he's not human anymore. His mask has come alive. The formerly dark eye hole is illuminated by a piercing yellow gaze. He snarls loudly, his canines shining in the light of a street light. I can feel claws digging into the flesh of both my arms. It's almost like he's trying to speak to me, a twisted growl fighting its way out. Instead, suddenly, I see the moon over his shoulders, my vision sharpened down to a point. I twist and kick, sending him toppling over my shoulder. I clamber to my feet and kick at his torso, only vaguely hearing the sound of my own snarling as I strike again and again. Stepping back, I feel a deep wrongness within myself. His crippled form lies beneath him, chest heaving as he takes his deep gulp of breath. The moonlight shines on him now, even larger on the horizon. I realize the one to kill him. I resist the boiling urge, anger rising within me, reaching up and grasping my mask. I feel hot and claustrophobic, wanting out of this stupid costume as quickly as possible. A hissing noise fills my head, growing louder as I dig my fingers to the greasy fabric. It grows in volume, and I feel my legs starting to shake. I pull, and fresh air pours in. The glow of the moon no longer seems inviting, but revolting. I look down at Blue's damaged form, and it feels as if it's miasma surrounding him. There's charged as I approach him, whatever was influencing me clearly having seeped deep into his body. His heavy breathing sounds more like growling, and I see his chest rising and falling rapidly. I don't know whether to run or to wait or to try to help him. I've seen him be fucking cruel, but I never imagined would attack one of us. As I crouch there, it starts to change. A twitch starts in Blue's leg, looking almost like a dog trying to scratch itself. Suddenly, a sickening crunch rings out. I would actually do it loud, but I can't. I fall back and scrape my hands against the tarmac as he starts wildly twisting around. The screaming coming from him is like nothing I've ever heard, and there is a horrible, deep crunchiness emanating within. As he kicks his legs out, his boots start flying off, revealing a clawed hand. A deep sickness forms in my gut, and I crawl over, trying to pin the lower half of his body. I'm not sure what I'm even trying to achieve, but the horrors in my stomach spars him. He catches me with a claw as I fail again to grasp him at the knees. His form is smaller than I expected. Something crunches again, louder this time. If I couldn't hear his body, I would think it was having a seizure. This is clearly much worse than that. I finally pin his lower body, something in his torso shuddering as I do. I look up to see him clawing his mask and human hands towards itself. All at once, it hits me. The mask. He keeps thrashing, no indication that he can hear at all. I realize I need to get it off of him and fast before his body deforms further. I reach over, trying to grasp at his head, but he twisted back and forth ceaselessly. I grasp at his fist, connects with my abdomen, feeling wounded as I try not to fall off him. As something snaps beneath me, I surge upwards, hands reaching wildly, and God. I grasp the snout of the mask and pull up, twisting. There's more resistance than I expected, and he bucks me off with another kick. Still, I keep my hold on it and pull harder. The fabric emits warmth, and I try not to think of the implication as I rip and hear a tear. I fly back as the mask finally comes away, landing roughly on my back. Breathing sharply, I collapse back against the road. Holy shit! Once the hammering has resided in my chest a little, I slide unsteadily back to my feet. I can finally see his face, blood-soaked but intact. His eyes have rolled back in his head and his breathing is faint, but I can no longer hear his body shifting and breaking. It dawns on me the kind of changes his body had already gone through. I don't know even a little bit what this could have meant for him. There's a ringing in my head as it starts to set in. I mean, he attacked me, but I started imagining him deserving that. He just changed. I look back up the moon, but it makes the ringing louder, so I quickly avert my gaze. Fucking Christ! The world feels like it's tilting on this axis as I look down at my own hands, then the mask. Have I changed as well? Could that have happened to me if I hadn't taken my own mask off? That thought makes the sickness in my stomach nearly bubble over. I take a deep breath of the night's air. Should I call someone? What would I even say? My head is really spinning now, and I resist the urge to sit down. Thank you for sound effects. The sound is distinct, but I feel as if it's been howling out. The rumble seeps into my bones as I look around for the source. In the corner of my eye, I see it. Piercing yellow eyes staring back at me from the darkness. Horrible recognition swamps me. I know at once that this creature is red. His lips curls as a snarl, scrolling volume, slowly stepping towards me from the shadows. As light is cast on him, I see the unmistakable tint of a dark blood around his jaws. He moves with a predator's grace towards me. I flick my eyes down to Blue, realizing I can't leave him like this. As I look back up, the wolf is even closer to me, moving silently across the road. I know I have to act, and I have no idea what to do. There's no way I can carry Blue anywhere, but he can't get himself away. I look back up at it. The muscles it's hulking from shift elegantly under the matted fur. Its huge size becomes clearer every second. I realize there's nothing I can do for Blue. Turning, I run. My heart thumps against my ribcage, resisting clatter to the floor as I sprinted away. I slam my feet back into my shoes as it nearly falls off. I don't hear anything behind me, panting filling my ears. Spots begin to appear in my eyes, so I'm forced to stop and lean against a building. I breathe heavily, memories running away after throwing the rock flooding back to me. It feels like years ago, even though it can only have been an hour. The moon hangs heavily overhead. Its sickly glow calls out to me again. I can hear a horrible rending of flesh as it shines on me, shredded by sharp canines. I pound my fist against the wall until I can no longer hear it and sink down. I must be losing my mind. Deliriously, I close my eyes and see that blood-soaked maw. I think of Jack, and an epiphany comes to me. Epiphany! I don't know why, but I feel in my core that it was his blood. Shakily, I rise to my feet. An unknown sense of purpose began to fill me. Red must have killed him. I know it. I don't feel tethered to reality anymore, but I know what has done this. Red must have gone back for his revenge. I already know I've left Blue to die. If I had just not done his sick prank or not fucked up the night in the first place, maybe none of this would have happened. I can't let people keep dying. I realize I'm gonna need to kill that creature. I'm going to need to kill Red. My legs start to move without me, and I let them lead. I feel myself coming in and out of reality as I stumble around, Halloween decorations flicking in the dark. I need to find him again, and I'm concerned about what I'm gonna see when I reach him. I want to retch as images of Blue flash in my memory. Unlike Red, I'm not used to getting into fights. I draw a small pocket knife out of my trouser pocket, warm from the proximity. Realistically, the blade is tiny. I got it as a gift, only really carry it out of habit and convenience. I try not to think about it. I'm actually going to use it, and I flip out the blade and clutch the handle. Slowly, I stagger back into the street with Blue. I quickly avert my eyes as a large, bloodied form catches my attention. I know exactly who it belongs to. I hold in a retch as I half walk, half run past it, seeing no signs of the wolf around. I started breathing again as I entered the alley nearby, almost pitch black in the darkness. Eventually, I realized I've nearly worked my way back to the field where our night began and quickened my pace towards it. My shoes crunch in the dewy grass, and I briefly hope I don't step in any dog shit. The thought seems ridiculous considering the circumstances, and I let out a slight unhinged laugh. The bushes rustle to my side, and I look over. I see the yellow of his eyes first. The predatory form stalks outwards from the tree-lined canines glinting. I realize how hard I've shaken as I see it drop some kind of fleshy mass from his jaws. A childish scream rings out, and I twist to see a kid in the ghost costume turning and running down the street. Sweet fly from their plastic pumpkin basket as they sprint out of view. Shit. I turn back around, seeing the wolf now significantly closer, maybe 3 meters away. I'm thankful it doesn't chase after the kid. In a weird way, it seems to have jolted me out of my paralysis. I sprint forwards. A snarl rips out. A large beast charged forward as well. Its large face collides with my arm as I twist out of the way at the last second. The wolf slams me back, and I quickly refocus on the knife in my left hand. It turns to me again as I plant the blade inside its shoulder, warm blood coated my wrist. It yelps, but keeps pushing forward. I try to hold it back with one hand, my fingers releasing the blade. Shit! I realize how futile this is and try to throw it back, feeling a claw pierce somewhere around my belly button. I scream. Teeth clamp over my hand and I scream once more. In a pit of adrenaline, I wrap my arms around its thick neck and use all the strength I can summon. I slam its head down into the ground, feeling it go limp for just a few seconds and realize my bloody fist. Terror consumed me and I jump to my feet, the world hazy. I start to limp away, quickeningly, into a sprint as I hear pounding behind me. The pain in my hand darted up my whole torso, feeling like an electric shock. As I reach the street, I realize I've got no idea what I'm doing, no possibility of outrunning this creature. The knife didn't seem to slow it down even a little. Terror grows in my chest, but a bend to my left gives me an idea. Hearing the wolf right behind me, I reach out and grab. I stumble slightly as I pull down, but the bin clattered loudly to the floor behind me. The wolf slams into it, garbage spilling into the street. I take advantage of the brief distraction and turn sharply into another road. I have absolutely no direction, but something catches my attention. Strips of fabric lie in a heap around with... Wait. A large dent bat sits among it. No way. I have no time to consider what led me here as I reach down and grip the bat, hearing snarling behind me. I swing, feeling metal collide with flesh. Another yelp snarl rings out and I see the furred body hit the floor. It recovers fast though, clawing back towards me. It moves faster than I expect and the bat glances off it as its teeth dig into my arm. Gawk! I splatter scream, but it digs my further. I fall back and hear something tear those teeth finally leaving my arm. Everything starts to fade, but I urge myself back to reality as it surges towards my face. It moves in slow motion as I feel something swinging the bat up towards it. It gets closer and closer, and I hit first as it falls down. Limp body flopped on top of me. I struggle to push it off, finally sliding my feet out from underneath it. As I stand up, I swing again. It twitches and brings up a paw to stand. I decide to hit it again to be sure, and again. Eventually, everything goes still as I hit it again, seeing the color truly leave its eyes this time. My head spins as I realize it might all actually be over. I feel like I've slipped into a different world without my knowing. I look over it, its chest no longer rising and lowering as it breathes. I remember exactly what it is. I laugh a little, feel sick, and throw up onto the street beside me. I sit down hard, feeling weakness throughout my whole body. Resting my head against the road, I watch the stars. I think of going back home, but I can't find the strength to move. A feeling of madness descends on me, and I realize something is truly broken. I clamber up to my feet, clutching the bat limply in my hand. I ignore the feeling of warmth gushing over my arm. As I begin to walk away, I hear police sirens in the distance. If you want me to do the other ending, just let me know.